Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Kemau to Cape Palm, mountain back to Atlantic Ocean, Opomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, hey, reliable information, history, talking about culture, hey, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia. From education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jack.
Good evening and good morning, I guess, in Monrovia, Liberia. Thank you for joining us. This is FOL Focus on Liberia, and this is Between the Headlines. Today we are here to discuss Liberia. It was a fateful day today in Liberia, as we've all seen on the in the social media, and so let's talk about what happened today. Here to help me do that will be my friend and brother, Dr. Clarence Pearson. Dr. Pearson, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Nangbe. It's a pleasure being on the show tonight. Thanks, hi to the panelists and to our viewers out there. We look forward to an exciting night tonight.
Indeed, indeed. And also joining us, my other friend and veteran journalist, Mr. Gabriel Williams. Welcome aboard, Gabe.
Victor, as always, it's my pleasure to be on this evening. Pretty much with a heavy heart. At a time when we're supposed to be celebrating in Liberia, my heart is heavy with respect to developments on the ground.
A heavy heart indeed. All of us, we really kind of baffled and we're troubled by the images we've seen across, social media all around the world. Let's talk about what happened today. No hype, no spin, as you know, people. This is where we discuss nothing but the facts as they happen. And so, Dr. Pearson, Liberia boasts of a democratic government, and protests, are par for the course. That's the medium people use to express their discontent, dissatisfaction, if they think the government is not doing what it is supposed to do. But today, I guess, was the first major attempt to let the government know that the people are becoming very concerned and worried. And so they decided to let the government know. And the government seemed to have responded. How did we get here and what happened?
Mr. Nangwe, thanks for the question. In my opinion, for tonight on this topic, there are three things that I want to just draw quickly from. First of all, we all understand that protest, they call it in the Constitution a peaceful assembly, and which of course also involve freedom of expression, is guaranteed under our Constitution, Article 17. And Article number 1 of the Liberian 1986 Constitution also provides for that if the people are put in the government and for some reason they have some level of unsatisfaction, they have the rights and privileges to go to the leaders and express their grievance. That's one aspect of the entire thing. The second aspect is so how we express our grievance. So we may have the constitutional right, but we also have, with the rights come responsibility, and we should behave ourselves peaceably. So usually when these things are happening, we look forward and encourage people to exercise a level of patriotism, a level of nationalism, where they can express themselves with the country's best interests at heart to ensure peace and stability. And lastly, it is the government's responsibility, whichever government is in power, to ensure that the people exercise their rights and they are protected in the process. And people will not want to hear this, but the larger responsibility for such a peaceful assembly or protest, whatever it may be, rests on the ruling government at the time to ensure the safety of his people and to also protect lives and property. And if you ever should use restraint, they should not be politically motivated. We know when it's politically motivated because we see some signs of suppression of freedom and repression of leaders. And so I think we are where we are today, and I just want to raise this after listening to 3 points that when the people or when the nation starts to rise up like this, it's just a sign, it's one of the symptoms to tell you that the government is not doing well and that they need to pay attention. And you can only go as far as suppressing them for some time, but over time, that no matter how you try to suppress them, it's going to be like a cork in the bottle. If you shake it too hard, the day the cap pops off, you're going to have a serious spill. And I think that's what we're reaching now as a country, and it becomes worrisome. And I think in the program we'll discuss further on the unfolding of these events in our country today.
Absolutely, we will. And Gabe, we will talk about what led us here, what could have happened, what didn't happen. But you're a veteran journalist, and you look at these things with a reporter's eye. I remember your days from back, the Daily Observer, and other papers. So I'm sure you have your eyes and ears on the ground. And so let's talk about how this was handled. What based on what you saw, what could have been done, or what do you think was done right by the government and the protesters as this situation unfolded, just from your journalist observation?
Thank you very much, Victor. I would like to, before I come specifically to your question, to provide some history and some context that will, provide, give your viewers some understanding, as to how we arrived here, and and what we can do now to mitigate the situation. First, as you keep referring to me, as a veteran journalist. Indeed, you remember, I think it was 1994, 1984, around that time when the Samuel Doe regime, crushed the protest, student protests at the university, where he ordered the Minister of Defense, General Gray Addison, to move on the campus of the university, to move the students or be moved, or that live broadcast. I covered that. I was a cop reporter at the Daily Observer then, and I covered that. And I'm telling you, right now, because of the brutality that was meted out, I also suffered. I got caught in a melee as a reporter, and today my left leg, which is my dominant leg, every now and then I'm never fully recovered because I went to the hospital at that time. The police, the soldiers, I got caught in, like I said, in the melee, and got kicked in my left leg, which is my dominant leg. As we speak, every now and then, I experience a little pain. And then you come to, the developments that ignited the Civil War. Well, it was during the Christmas holiday, on Christmas Eve, to be precise, when Charles Taylor launched his rebellion that, turned Liberia into an inferno that that extinguished a quarter million, more than a quarter million of our people. Many of us are left with the scars. I was one of the as I was Secretary General of the Press Union at the time. I had returned from the United States. I was the first Liberian journalist to serve as a journalism scholar at the United Nations headquarters in New York under the Dag Hammarskjöld Memorial Fellowship. At the time of the fellowship was concluding, there were offers for me to just remain at headquarters and continue my career. But, the uniqueness about that program was that, a foreign journalist, from around the world, especially developing countries, for you to come and learn about the UN and to go back. So I said I will go back to Liberia, in my late 20s. And right after that, the war came. I was Secretary General of the Press Union. And I'm telling you, and like I said, around the Christmas holiday, when people were in the festive mood, Liberia got plunged into a situation that led to over a quarter million of our people dying. Now, so this is why I said, with a heavy heart, here we are celebrating Christmas, Victor, and you see the developments unfolding on Capitol Hill. The heart of our democratic life as a nation in turmoil, where police, from the reports, firing live arms, ammunition. What if someone had been struck or killed, or life could have been taken? And of course, the police, they were not going there. This was not a marching band and not holding them to that. But the decisions that are made and the circumstances that have led us to this situation here, where people take upon themselves and just decide not to adhere to the rule of law. I came there to you on your very program, and I indicated that this thing could lead our country into uncharted waters. And here we are, and so look what is happening if care is not taken. Dr. Pearson spoke to this. There's so much disenchantment on the ground. People, economic situations, economic factors. A lot of children are in school. A lot of children are idle. Parents, don't know some of them where the next meal is going to come from for their children. If in any situation in Liberia, you're going to have wholesale looting. And I'm not sure where you have the police or any force strong enough to contain it. What they are doing, they better continue on Capitol Hill. And I say I come with a heavy heart to this program because I can just look and see, given the experiences of some of the things that I just told you.
Absolutely.
It can get completely out of hand, and you have a completely different situation because this is how things degenerated with Samuel Doe. In the dying days, one little protest after another, one little protest after another. When you look, the combined protests by the LINSU, the press union, and other organizations, that led to the collapse of law and order. And Liberia was never the same again for 14, 15 years. So, people got to be careful what they're doing.
I hear you, Gib, and thanks for the background. I understand exactly where you're coming from. Back in those days, we all remember Decree 88A and all that stuff. I was working with Liberia National Student Union myself, Linsu. I was a vice president serving with the late Gabi Tapia, and then with Gedamina Flomo. And yes, you're right. When these things begin, they begin with drip drop, and if they are not addressed quickly, they tend to blow out of proportion. Dr. Pearson, we're still talking about what happened today. I know we'll go to the background of how we got here. The president, in the face of all of this, in the midst actually of all of this, he went to the Capitol building to sign a book of condolence. I mean, yes, he was a prominent Liberian who has left us, the honorable, I think John Gray, one time vice president, I think one time legislator. So I get that. But it just seemed today like the president was saying to the protesters in your face. You understand? People are coming out in the streets to express their dissatisfaction with the government, and the president comes in the midst of all of that with his security and all of that. And I think during the process, one of the journalists, may have been, malhandled. But could he have? You think this was a show of necessary force? Could he have picked another day, or you should have just gone ahead and done it? In your opinion?
One question like this, and thank you, Mr. Number. Once question like this come up to me in our current situation, this is where people get annoyed with me, because I have zero confidence in the leadership ability of President Boyka. And I didn't have one from the elections. I don't have none now. And he hasn't done anything to suggest to me that he has the capacity that I think is lack to lead the country. And I'll give you the reason why. There are some tendency in leadership that lean or borders on autocracy, an authoritarian regime. And key to those tendencies is the disregard for the feelings and the emotions of the people that you lead. I remember there were times when Madam Ellen was in power that we, across from the street from her in the university compound, came outside with disenchantment over the increment in tuition. I know the man handled us on that occasion also, but at some point in time, she walked downstairs and came and confronted the protesters and to listen to them. Now, compare that to President Boyka, who sat under this woman for 12 years and saw her tactics in handling protests after an immediate conflict and was able to maintain peace and security. And now, observe, the office of the president has, someone said today on another network, 24/7 security briefing. The executive mansion is like a stone throw from his office to the Capitol building. There is a publicity across the country that people and Liberians are dissatisfied with the lingering saga of total disregard and disrespect for the Constitution and the rule of law, and they will be going to petition their lawmakers on this day. The president understands that the police has to provide him security because he's the first head of government. He is the head of government according to the Constitution, made him head of government. If he's going anywhere, security has to be beefed up. He was sitting at the executive mansion. He had been following development of the tension building along the major boulevard. He has seen lawmakers, disenchanted lawmakers who have been disenfranchised by their renegade colleagues, and they're working with the supporters and the constituent members to go to the Capitol building to make the voices heard. He saw tension building, and then he proceeded to move to the Capitol building. Now it does two things. Now we're down close. Number one, what that says to me is that he doesn't care for the people whose vote that put him in the executive mansion. Number two, it tells me that he doesn't care for the security of the country. Because first of all, the security apparatus in the country are designed to protect him. If he's going anywhere that is a semblance of conflict, it's going to exacerbate the security situation around that area that he's going to, because they want to protect him. And so we saw the Liberian National Police today stationed where we got Ministry of Internal Affairs. The detour going to the mansion and then going to the main gate of the University of Liberia. They were standing right there. When they saw that the protesters were approaching from where they got the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and determined to come all the way to the Capitol with the mindset that the president is going to be going at the Capitol, these guys did not wait for the protesters to be violent or to be chaotic in whatever sense. They decided to prevent them. And what happens when you try to prevent protesters? Of course, you get counter resistance. And then I followed this entire. I was up from 5 a.m. this morning. When I followed that video, now before I close on this, there was no agitation towards those police when they begin to fire tear gas. That's why immediately when I saw it, I took a screenshot and I made it my profile page. If you look at my profile picture, you see my profile picture on Facebook. And when you look in that video, the street is clear between the buffer between the police barrier, line of defense, and where the protesters were way ahead before coming to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. A whole corridor, you cannot see one stone on the ground on the main street to project that there was stone being thrown. So that's why the guys were firing tear gas and were being putting on some resistance to the protester. What does that say to me? It says that it is a troubling time, Mr. Nangwe. It's troubling times. And we'll talk about this more, but it's troubling.
Thank you, Dr. President. Again, Clarence is, look, he mentioned Mrs. Shirley. I mean, say whatever you may, Ellen Johnson was a tactician, she knew how to diffuse these kinds of things. He mentioned that in some instances you go and engage the protester, and then just go among there and have a conversation. But then even with the former president, you remember June 7th, I think 2018 or so, under the leadership of Frank Musadin as Minister of Justice, right? The protesters and the police, they were dancing, they were eating, they were drinking, they were among the people, and they managed to kind of normalize, kind of de-escalate is the word I'm looking for. But I think the president didn't even as much as acknowledge the crowd today at all. I mean, should we be drawing comparison here? I mean, it's inevitable, given what we saw today and what we've seen in recent past, how the governments, handle something like this.
You cannot isolate, a proper historical context from these kinds of developments. And I go back again to my own experience through my days as assistant minister and then deputy minister at the Ministry of Information under Madame. Before I came in, I set two conditions to them when I was offered a job. I said, one, I will not come there and preside or participate in the arbitrary closure of any news organ. We agree to that. Secondly, I'm not going to come and preach us against them, policies of us against them. We are a government and we have to be inclusive. I stuck to both of them. For example, when the Ministry of Information or minister went and arbitrarily shut down the independent newspaper in the wake of the narco scandal, having gone to the president and advised or otherwise. I'm providing this context to come to Clarence, what he's saying.
Right.
As somebody who very close to, the presidency and seeing how things work, and the president being pretty much in a bubble and taking, ideas from people who advise her and being influenced otherwise, I will come there. But just listen to me. Let me set this case up.
Go right
in the wake of the scandal, the newspaper clearly, the same independent newspaper, they clearly breached the law by publishing those papers, pages. We had Solicitor General Tiabon Gonglo. We contacted Liz Huff, the first female president of the PUL, and myself, two of us former president of the press, at the Ministry of Information, reached out to Councillor Gonglo, then the Solicitor General, to seek interpretation. And we got it. That the government, the only option we had was to go to court. We invited those people to a meeting at the Justice Ministry, the newspaper publishers, and we advised them accordingly that this time the government is not going to take any action against them in the wake of that publication. But if they were to reoffend, we'll be left with no option. They went and reoffended. Obviously, the children, those people, they were testing the law. The minister got up, went to the president and said, based on the agreement we had with them, these fellows have reoffended, and convinced the president otherwise. And came and shut down the newspaper, over our strenuous objection. Deputy Minister Huff and myself, and she's in Monrovia today. Our strenuous objection to call a press conference and arbitrarily close down the independent newspaper. What did I do? I decided to seek audience with the president. There were people who told me, said, look, my man, this decision has been made. What if the president said, if you don't like the decision, resign? I said, if I would do so, then so be it. This was a cardinal principle for my coming into this government. I've been a journalist all my life. If I were to sit down now and arbitrarily allow for this to happen, how many more newspapers are going to shut down before I stand up? I sought an audience with the president. Senator Amara Coney, then the Deputy Minister for Public Affairs at the mansion, Press Secretary Cyrus Badio, then they both participated in that meeting. When I reached out to them to say I wanted to meet the president, they themselves had a different feeling about the whole thing. So the meeting was arranged. And that evening, I met with the president and I put forward my case. To make long matter short, I said, Madam, when Charles Taylor or somebody doing when they were arbitrarily shutting down newspapers, I said, you were one of the leading champions. And of course, we in the leadership of the press union, we blazed the trail, to condemn this at the national, international level. I said, if we are doing the same thing now, how different are we? The madam son back and said, my goodness, I didn't know. And I told her, madam, this thing has also serious international implications. Because assistance to Liberia, especially from the United States, are contingent upon, adherence to certain principles. Press freedom be cardinal among them. I said, this will have profound implications. And I'm telling you the following, and when I told him, I said, let's prepare now to see when these people come, how we're going to respond. At that time, we're receiving, inquiries from international organizations, people that have been dealing with around the world. Gabriel is at the Ministry of Information, what's happening? So I saw the president audience as to how to respond. We put down a format. The following morning, the ambassador of the United States and the director of public affairs, they came calling at the information ministry. They met with Ms. Huff and myself to seek clarification from the government. By that time, this is how we quashed the whole thing. The president rescinded that decision and we told the Americans that, look, it was a misstep. It's not going to happen again. So that didn't have any effect. So I'm just saying this to say that, if you make mistake, it's good to correct course. Clarence just made a point that is critical, and I want to come to it. The president was going to that event today. I would have urged the president, walk from the mansion, go to the Capitol Hill. Madam, Madam will engage them, and Madam, day and heart, you were here on the radio or on the phone, on the live. She asking the question, they asking a question. She peppered them. In the end, how long it takes to satisfy? I would have asked the president, Mr. President, take a walk from here to the Capitol. Those people would have left that Capitol dancing, and it would have been our Christmas gift. We lost it. We lost it. So for me, it is not late.
Yeah. I think you guys make a great point. I mean, this government just doesn't seem to be able to get out of its own way, because we're hearing news on the international wires that they may have finally won some money through the Millennium Challenge. This is a big deal. You would think, they will do everything possible to address the situation so that it doesn't overshadow, this accomplishment. But no, here we are today. All we're talking about is protest, and how it was handled. So it's very challenging. But Dr. Pearson, let's now dig a little deeper and see, how we got here. I mean, we all know all of this actually came to a head, I think, since October 17th, right? The speaker was out of the country, and we're hearing that ever since April, the fellows had been gathering signatures and they had been unable to gather the required 49 to remove the speaker. So that was one. And then two, by constitutional requirement, the speaker had to be absent for his deputy to preside. And so the speaker was out of the country. He was here in the US I know because he attended our inauguration at the Union of Liberian Association in America. He was our keynote speaker. And then while he was here, I think he went to address the Grand Crew Association. And then while he was there, we heard the president invited him to join him at the Vatican. So now it was during his absence with the president at the Vatican, which had created the necessary absence that was required, that we saw the speaker. If you remember that morning when the deputy speaker went to the Capitol building, the only thing I could hear him saying was, "We're here to preside. We're here to preside. We're here to preside." Meaning they have gone to effectuate the removal, and it appears they went to the Capitol without a 49, hoping that the momentum will gather additional signatures, to help them get over the hill. That didn't happen. And ever since, we've been deadlocked in a stalemate. So now, I read on the Executive National website, in the midst of all of this, the reporting is that the president went to the Capitol building. He was received by the legislators led by Speaker Richard Combs. So now, if that is not a recognition of Representative Combs as a speaker, I don't know what is. Take that and juxtapose that on what we've been hearing lately. Musa Ability and others been talking about this negotiation that has been going on, and now we are here. How do you read all of this, Dr. Pearson?
Thank you, Mr.
You're not even going to acknowledge him. Later on, you will talk. We're talking our own right now. What's up, Jerome? Go ahead,
Mr. Gaiman. Welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, I can get you where if you want to do your opening statement on the topic.
Well, as biased as I can be, because I'm objective, I'm biasly objective. What happened in Liberia today is a shame. And if Joseph Walker had anything to look forward to, it should have been the reputation of his administration. But based on what we are seeing, he looks like a man who is in his final days and doesn't care what happens behind him. So what you saw there today, it was a pretext to do harm to the Republic. The police are saying they wouldn't allow people on the Capitol because the president would have been in harm's way. Of all days, the president chose today to go sign a book of condolence. I will leave it as that.
All right, thank you, sir.
Welcome, Mr. Gavin. Thank you for joining us. Yes, so Dr. Pearson, I don't know if you want me to repeat my question or you.
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
You see. I tell people this when we have conversation in private, because I've been off for some time. Look, listen. When you're in a political environment, you can play politics. But no matter how we play politics in a country like Liberia, a fragile democracy, a country that is still trying to find its footing to consolidate its peace and security, you don't play politics to the detriment of the state. And for the safety of the entire country and the people of Liberia and our sub-region, you don't play politics at the detriment of the existing laws of the country. Our country must be governed within the confines of constitutional governance. So, having said that, now let's look at what is happening with the speaker issue so that we're not repetitive. We understand that you need 49 votes to remove the speaker. We also understand that you've played this game before under Madam Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf in 2007 and with Edwin Snow and coming forward with Alex Tyler and others and succeeded. But different times might call for different measures. So back then, when you may have succeeded doing that, the population was not as exposed to information like we are exposed now, Mr. Nangwe. When the Edwin Snow saga and the Alex Tyler and Tinian saga took place, we did not have all of the platforms and accessibility of information that we have right now. So what the guys are doing, they are playing with fire, Mr. Nangwe. Because first of all, they try to disenfranchise a co-file outside the Constitution. In the process, they're disregarding the rule of law. Within the same measure, they are ostracizing through vindictive politicking their own colleague who they're supposed to be persuading to reconcile with them to run the country, so that the voices of the people they represent in the constituency, those 7 lawmakers, are also part of the decision making about of the country. Now we're passing a budget, a national budget, behind the doors of armed men, right? And because of that posture, a certain number of lawmakers, 30 of them, are outside of this budgetary negotiation, and the constituency cannot be represented by the negotiation on that 2025 budget. Understanding the corruption and inherent corruption and bad practices, financial practices of our government, what do we stand to benefit? Those of us who have our lawmakers, 30 of them, ostracized from the process. So to come to what you are saying, when you add that to the unconstitutional dismissal, wrongful dismissal of EPS soldiers, AFL soldiers, some of them were affected also by that. The army wives who have not been paid benefits, who've been up there, civil servants and other government officials, government workers, petty workers that were working along with government. All these people are hurting, and they are feeling the brunt of the decision of this government coming to power. One would think that this government and the people around the president will advise him to maintain a humble environment where he appeals to the conscience of the people, so that the country is not prone to violence. But I will close on this. Mr. Nambe, mark this broadcast. When it comes to popular uprising, it starts bit by bit and grows in temperature. Say for instance, maybe somebody decide to protest today, you see 2 people. The next spray you see 3 people. The next spray you see 5 people. By the time you get to notice, if you're not curbing the circumstances that are yielding to that protest, there will be a conglomeration of interest, of diverse. You know what the people say in political science? Say your enemy and my enemy become, the both of us become friends because of a common enemy. And when that happens, the country is sitting on a time bomb. And I think President Boyka needs to understand this. He needs to course correct and put our country back on the right trajectory.
Thank you, Dr. Mr. Gilman. Thank you again for joining us. We'll come back to Gabe, but I'll give you a chance to weigh in here. I mean, we're basically discussing what happened today and how we got here. The way what happened today was handled, and all of the other things leading up to what happened today. The banner, the rallying call today of the protesters was constitutional democracy. They want the rule of law. I mean, they went to the Capitol building for a purpose. I believe the expression was that they believe that the 43 are acting unconstitutionally, and that they want the legislators to obey the rule of law, follow the law. And so while in the midst of all of this, in the midst of calls from several quarters, including the U.S. Embassy, the union here, several other, the Association of Liberian Journalists, lots of other organizations have been calling on this government and the actors, to respect the rule of law. And here we are. The president today, the executive mansion, is still recognizing Honorable Representative Richard Cohen as a speaker, in spite of all this. The Supreme Court came out with a decision. There is a ruling now on the desk of the Chief Justice for a bill of information as filed by the Kofa Camp. So while all of this is going on, the executive apparently is going ahead with full speed in recognizing Speaker Cohen. Do we see us resolving this thing anytime soon?
Well, it has been resolved in the minds of the Unity Party. I will take you back to Benjamin Franklin during the convention. The question asked was, we are going outside of the organization of monarchy, and we want to try the Republican form of government. How do we keep our republic together and our democracy? And he told them, It will be a republic if we can keep it. Then he says, sell not liberty to purchase power. Isn't that what's happening in Liberia? We are selling our liberty, or we have sold our liberty for power. What you are seeing here, it is not about today. It is not about tomorrow. This is about 2029. If this government has disrespected the Constitution, the highest court in the land, where we usually go during the election when President Weah won the election, it was Bromsky and this guy, Cummings, with all the other folks, including Boycott. They went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled. And what did Bromsky say? He said, as an officer of the court, as much as it pains me, the court, the Supreme Court, the final arbiter of law in this country has ruled. This is it. Here you are, you have Joseph Walker, who was a party to that complaint, have totally disregarded the Supreme Court. 2029 comes, and when Joseph Walker or the Unity Party announced herself as, or proclaimed herself as the winner of the election in 2029, you can't go to the Supreme Court because they won't listen to the Supreme Court.
Right.
So where is our republic?
Where is our republic?
So you think about it, if our republic have been sold for power. So now Joseph Walker is the judge, he's the juror, and he's the executioner. He decides who lives and who dies in Liberia, and you got no redress. No redress. You cannot go to the courts. You can't go in because Joseph Walker is a supreme king. This is what we have here. And it doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good. Good. You come on here not only as a veteran journalist and a panelist, but you're also a veteran diplomat. I want you to put on your diplomatic hat. I know I read on the U.S. Embassy's website in Monrovia, they have issued an advisory. What do you think is going on right now in the diplomatic circles, diplomatic cables? What are they saying? I mean, even if you haven't read, what would you be imagining that they're talking about right now? If the U.S. government has already gone public to caution its citizenry to avoid certain parts of Monrovia.
Yes, I came here earlier and I indicated some of the international implications of these kinds of actions. Definitely. I would pray that we will not get to a point where our key international partners will not begin to, actually insist on adherence to the rule of law, as the basis for, continuing assistance in various critical areas. These things I'll give you an example of what happened with the press, the media, in light of the closure of that newspaper. Definitely. Look, I have been in consultations, the people call, what's happening, to provide history and context to the situation. It may get to a point where you might really see some bold, call for adherence to the rule of law in Liberia. And they could go further. And, the thing is, we don't want our government to be seen as, taking, instructions from other countries, right? We have to be seen to be sovereign. But, they say the finger that feeds, you can't bite it. And if you have your rules that are contingent, what is going on? And I told you this earlier, it could cause serious problems. Again, I was hoping that a situation like this would have provided some teaching moments, And I come back to my days, I serve here in Sacramento here. When I fled Liberia, I worked with one of the newspapers here called the Sacramento Observer newspapers. During that time, from the 1980s to the mid 1990s, they had the first black speaker of the California Assembly, Willie Brown. I'm sure you heard of him, or you may Google him. Brown is the mentor to Kamala Harris. She served in Brown's law office in San Francisco, as an intern, and Brown, look, and I was a reporter here. And for years, the Republicans wanted Brown out as a speaker. Like I said, that man was the longest serving speaker. This black man, one of the longest serving mayor for San Francisco. He dominated California politics thoroughly. And it was one constitutional process after another, to get the man out. Eventually, the Republicans gained a majority when Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor. They rode on that wave, but Brown was able to select one of his own guy who was on the other side to take over as speaker. That's how he sailed to San Francisco and again became one of the longest serving mayors before his retirement. Brown is now in his 90s. I think he's 90 years old, and he's still here. So look, so we are losing, and during that process, you didn't have police coming to the Capitol building here in Sacramento. You didn't have any disruption or nothing. So why don't we agree to disagree without being violently disagreeable? To quote Martin Luther King, because what you guys are doing, and I came here and I give you a context about the 1989 Christmas holiday season when the war came about. On a Christmas holiday season, the first year of this presidency, I will be thinking about some how to call it, Christmas ceremonies, gospel concerts, where the president officials will be going to churches, just as the season of good news. We got a new government, but to be going through this and to conclude on this, if a shot is fired and anybody gets killed, it's a stain on President Bouaka and his government. And I pray that we're not going to go there. We have had too many governments with stains and bloodshed. We don't need to go down this route. And so there's a need for them to course correct.
Thank you. Dr. Pearson, our friend Waller here will have you believe this is a standard statement that was issued by the U.S. Embassy. Well, okay, so that was a standard statement. But that is what responsible governments do, right? You let your citizens know what is happening so that they don't put themselves in harm's way. Ever since this thing happened today, have you heard any of the government people say anything about it? What kind of advisory have we gotten from the government so far? The Minister of Information was talking something about civil service today. I didn't hear anyone mention anything about this. So yeah, let's assume this is a standard practice by the U.S. government. So what would be a standard practice for our Liberian government, relative to their citizenry? In the face of all this, I saw people fainting from tear gas and all of that.
Mr. Nangbe, I had an old lady in my community in Queensville district who used to tell me, Reverend, when in community meeting and the older person have to tell you, say, my son, shut up, that in itself suggests that you are in error, right? Matter of fact, you should have no reason for the United States government to be issuing statement to you who just came into power, who was a few months ago, the one on the other end of the table, making the same argument the other guys are making today. You were the one who were telling people that the government was disrespecting the rule of law. President Bouaka is on tip saying those things. President is not respecting the rule of law, total disregard for the rule of law. When it came to protests, June 7, we tired suffering, all the kind of different protests, they were saying we don't need permit to go do any protest. It is our constitutional right. Darrell Dillon is on video camera on international news media in front of the National Police Headquarters fence. They simply were carrying Colasco today. when the international journalists put the microphone to Darius Dillon's mouth, but he was not even senator, slim and dry looking man, and said, "Why are you here today?" He said, "I'm here to stand in the defense of my people." And then he said, and go look at the video, he said, "These are the same people who are going to vote for me tomorrow to become senator." In other words, I'm saying in short, protest has become a way out for the public and for the people of Liberia to explain to the government that we're tired with what you're doing, because there's no other way. Like my brother Gaming mentioned it, the courts will not listen to the courts. They will not listen to anyone else until you put fire on their back. It was this same opposition government that is in power right now that brought George Monrovia government to its knees and had international partners coming into a conference with them. The entire government went out of standstill. Any of you remember when the international community, ECOWAS, AU, and other people came to Liberia, the American government had to sit at a round table to talk to people like Mo Ali then. Darrell Dillon was a spokesman in that meeting for the protesters. Why is it different today? So let me say this. Sam Water is one of those in my category I declare as the big three elements of Liberia's problem today: impunity, high elections results, and sycophancy. What some of the guys are doing who stood in the trenches yesterday for democracy and now dragging it in the slum are a bunch of sycophants. They are unable to stand up and look at leaders in the face and give them the good advice that they need to make the country run better, like Gabriel said. And because we have people around our leaders like this, we sometimes think we get good leaders coming to power, but then the people around them end up making them total tyrants. And then we go back to square one. And this is sad for our country. So I don't listen to people that wallow. No. I don't listen to them.
They are doing, everything that I say, or I like to say, I like to have some historical context. When the United States invaded Iraq, there was this guy they called Baghdad Bob. He was the spokesperson for Saddam Hussein. He was on every show telling them, "For we are killing the Americans. They are losing. I mean, we shot down 10 planes." In the meantime, he was finding his way to Syria, to the border of Syria. When everything fell, he asked for asylum. That Wallow, people like Wallow, those are the Baghdad Bab. When they say things are going bad in Liberia, the American, when the American embassy, when the State Department issues of all the countries in the world, they just pick you and say, things are bad. When you come to Monrovia, stay in your corner. Don't even venture outside of the city. And then someone said, "Oh, that's normal. America says that every time." But the past 11 months, the United States have not issued that statement. They just did. The police chief was over there. He says, "Yes, we may have been this, but as the authority, it is our job to protect and defend property." But then, when you look at the act that brought the Capitol Police, the Capitol Police is a police of its own. It has the authority to protect the Capitol and its environment. The city and the state police has no ground. You go to Washington, D.C., and Honorable Williams is there. On Capitol Hill, the Capitol Police, the city police, D.C. police cannot go on Capitol Hill. It would never happen. They got separate role, and they do that for these folks to go and usurp the authority of the Capitol Police. Why the Capitol Police? They are there in person. And Coleman, like I wrote the other day, if your name is Coleman, and I'm going to the historical context again, if your name is Coleman, you should be the last person staying away from hunting and shooting people, unless you don't know your history. Like the American people say, a man who doesn't know his history is like a tree without roots. It will sway wherever, and finally it will fall. One of the greatest historical misstep of Tottenham was the assassination of a Coleman, David Coleman, and his son. And if you come from that bloodline, you should stay away from guns. So I'm just putting these things into context. History has a way of repeating itself when you don't know your history. Back to you, Mr. Nambi.
Thank you, Mr. Gavin. If we're not talking, let's just mute. There's a little bit of feedback in the background. But, thank you very much for the input. Oh, Gabe, I'm coming back to you, man. Look, since this government came into power, they've been hustling, for a deal, and no major deal has been consummated. And listen, Dr. Wallo, I am saying consummated. I am not talking about memorandum of intent or memorandum of understanding. I am talking about the signing and concluding of a major deal. And here we are now. This government is in the midst of organized chaos that is being managed by this government. Allegations are out there of interference in the legislative process that's ongoing. They're now recognizing, the speaker when the Supreme Court is yet to come out with a clarification on what the ruling was. What does this do to investor confidence and people who may want to give us, the help that we so badly need?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry if I muted it. Yes, I was talking to you again.
Yes. Look, I can't emphasize enough the international implications of these negative developments unfolding out of Liberia. Let's take Liberians in the diaspora, many of whom in recent years have been making a regular, a voyage to Liberia, Christmas holidays, after a year, working and toiling, at least going home to meet with families and loved ones, and even to the extent of taking friends. And you go and you get yourself caught in this kind of situation. You take friends, your ordinary American or other people, to go with you, and they get caught in this kind of situation. So the impact is just profound. It's unbelievable. And you take it on a broader scope, my brother. When you out here, image about and when you hear stories about countries like Liberia, and I keep coming back to my own experience here in Sacramento. After I left the newspaper, I served for nearly 10 years as the public affairs officer for the Sacramento Black Chamber of Commerce, producing their magazines and other things until I returned to Liberia. And many trips were made to Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, and many other Cote d'Ivoire, but never to Liberia, my own country. And here was a Liberian, among these Black Americans, the Chamber of Commerce and other extended business interests. I couldn't recommend those people to go to my own country. So, look, until we get our acts together, and sometimes our leaders in the country, they don't look at the bigger picture. Right now, it's about 2029, as someone keeps saying, and it's mostly the way, they did it to Edwin Snow, or they did it to what's the other guy name? They did it to him, but Tyler, 2 wrongs don't make any right. Because it's been done wrongly over the years doesn't mean that we got to keep doing it, and it has to stop. If we don't do this, look, the international implications. I'm telling you now, if this thing continues, you don't want our major partners to begin to issue statements that will indict the government somehow, and then they have to backtrack. And it's as if, you bite your tail and you get back in your little shell. They better course correct. We are getting to a place, the law is the law, and they need to adhere to that. That's all I think they need to do.
Thank you, Jerome. The law is the law. Look, we're in trouble. So the Supreme Court is out yet with its clarification. The government is going ahead and recognizing Representative Kuhn. So now, suppose the Supreme Court comes back and returns in favor of Representative Kuhn. Are we going to have 2 speakers? The government is already going ahead with the budget through the 43 and all of that. where are we with this thing? I mean, should we be worried?
Well, like everybody, why wouldn't you be worried? We have usually in civilized country where the rule of law, even the fourth estate. Look at this headline. The FDA boss brags in public that he denied the media from covering anything in his office. This is Joseph Boyka's man. He's bragging that he will never respect the media. The media is not allowed. They are persona non grata in his office because there are a lot of questions around his activities with Charles Taylor when he was selling logs and all of that. So he has made it clear whatever he does is between him and Joseph Boyka, and the media will never know. This is a man. Second, he said we need to be worried. Here we are. The Afro Barometer just came out. Majority of Liberian distrust. This just came out on the 13th, December 13th. They distrust the government on revenue management and everything in the services. These are recent things. I know Waller will say, "Oh, that's not."
No, I was about to say. He said the economy is on track. It ain't no contract projection. And anyway, go ahead.
That's it. And you see, he was talking about the HPS thing here. Or we discussed it the other day. HPX have now said they have no regards for Liberia and Liberia's laws. They are going to negotiate directly with Guinea because their plan will eventually align with Joseph Boyka's arrest agenda. This is a company that Waller and everybody else was saying they're bringing $5 billion. They are just saying it. They are not going to negotiate with Liberia. They are going to do a direct negotiation with Guinea. Can you imagine going to a nation and saying that? And the NRC response to them is here. The NRC is saying, you can't do this. We are the negotiating arm of our economy, of the nation. You cannot bypass us to go and do negotiation on your own. So here we are, total disregard for law. So what you think other people are doing?
Absolutely.
So we should be concerned? Yes.
Yeah.
We have to be concerned because we are not lawless. Someone like you goes to Liberia, something happens to you, you got no redress. That's why we are hearing now that black jeeps are driving around in certain neighborhoods and arresting people at night, 2 o'clock in the morning. Black jeep, no license plates.
That used to be back in the 80s. That was the
Even Totman style, people who were part of the PRO, they were rat on other folks.
Those black Jews are no good thoughts for anybody to think. Those were, oh my goodness, a scary business. But listen, Dr. Pearson, the protesters in the streets today, they complain about a lot of things. But one of the things talked about, the rule of law, the illegal dismissal of tenured people. And now this 43 has already gone ahead to suspend about 7 of their colleagues who represent at least 20,000, 30,000 people, right? Even if you put it at 20,000, that's what, 140,000 Liberians who will be disenfranchised for the next 3 months, including the Christmas season. And this government is going ahead and moving as if, nothing is happening. How do they not see this storm that is brewing? How? I don't get it. How? Today, according to the chief of police, over 70 people were arrested, including the former president's aide. The people are not going to stop. So how do they not see this thing coming, Dr. Pearson? I mean, you have been in government before, you know. How do you advise your principal when this kind of thing is happening? And what kind of advice is president getting?
Thank you, Mr. Nambi. Before I go there, Mr. Gayman, on the issue about the HPX, I was one of those who started raising alarm before President-elect Boyka even took office. And one of the things I alarmed was, when he was president-elect, ArcelorMittal CEO went to his house and they took a picture in his living room.
HPX, was it Acela or HPX?
ArcelorMittal.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then immediately when ArcelorMittal did that and HPX trying to beat a way into the bargain,
I see.
HPX also made a visit at the executive mansion. All right, so let us not forget again, man. HPX contributed to our national budget 2024. It gave us a couple of million dollars, and I think it's supposed to. That same money is supposed to run over the 2025 as well, if nothing has gone wrong. So meaning they've already bought the negotiation before it can even get started. It's like it's like this boy, King and Abel. Even if he said you saw your breath right before you even got to get the blessing from your father. So that's a water down the drain. Let me come to what you just said. You know, Mr. Gayman, when you think about why Liberians kill each other, up to 250 people lost their lives, then you can understand why we do what we do right now. I was fortunate to have been born in Liberia, Harper, Maryland County, went to Monrovia, living, Smyrnotis, Pinzo City, Oro, Congo Town. You can name all the places, Central Monrovia. I lived all the places in Liberia there. I was there throughout the Civil War, and then I left Liberia to come here for a reason in 2014, during the time of the 2013, during the time of the Ebola, 2013, 2014. But listen to this. I literally saw neighbors physically point fingers to each other and had them killed. Literally, I'm not saying somebody told me. My entire neighborhood were one of the groups that went to Lutheran compound. And we stood in front of the Lutheran compound fence to enter, and they told us there was no space. And the massacre happened there. Now, I'm saying this thing to say, look, we have not reached to the place where we have dealt with the trauma of the Liberian civil crisis. A lot of us treat each other in Liberia like we are not human beings. And I would say this, those very lawmakers that are disenfranchising the French 7 other lawmakers, and Kofa included, the others and the other, let me just say the 30 others, technically speaking, because now they have seized the budget. Now they're controlling the finances. Now they can determine who get their own allowance, who can get their own allowance, who can get benefits, who can get benefits. They're enjoying themselves. They are the same guys who told us that they need all the different monies in the budget because their constituents, they come to them on a daily basis to beg for money. And they justify the 30,000, they justify the other 100,000 because they say people walking to that office every single day. So how they expect the other friends then to take care of the constituency members who go into them to solicit Christmas, opportunities when they have everything RLG? I keep saying this. We are looking at this thing on the surface. We think that it is something common, but I will say this in closing on this question you just asked me. Listen, Liberia is a communal family. We in one home, when you get one person who get a job, you get about 5 or 6 person in a house living with them. Then you get an extended family of 2 or 3, 4, 5 different family extended, depending on them. Then in the village, they're waiting for you to get some mobile money there as well, like they can do to us here. And let me tell you this, when you disenfranchise one person, when you take money from the pocket of one person, you endanger the livelihood of multiple people. If President Boyka is not careful, if the lawmakers in the House of Representatives that feel they can hijack power because they can manipulate the justice system and muscle the friends in the House, and the senators can condone them, and then the executive branch of government come and legitimize them, like Boyka did today, before we can realize it, we see a massive uproar of people in the streets of Monrovia that the very Boyka government cannot contain. And I can give the example: Charles Taylor, Samuel Doe, Madam Ellen Johnson said at one point realized that she went to the international conference. She said, if you people don't come and help me to manage my young people and to provide opportunities for them, the fragile peace that you have invested in will be lost. Madam Ellen Johnson said it on record saying that at an international conference. And President Barker need to take you from there and learn. If not, I foresee danger.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson. Mr. Williams, I think let me come back to Jerome for a minute, and then I'll come back to you, Gabe. Jerome, I think it was you or Dr. Pearson. We were talking about preempting, and let me ask you this, right? The executive is already being accused of interference in the legislative process. The whole ongoing saga to remove the speaker, and now over the weekend, there were reports and photos of the vice president, attending, the Chief Justice daughter's program, and again, the optics of all that. We all remember Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton on the plane here in 2016, while the email scandal was ongoing. And what that did, she had to recuse herself, of course, not Liberia. So now the government is going ahead as if the clarification that Kofa is seeking is they already know what's going to come back. Are they really not bothered by the optics of interference in the legislative, the judiciary? Are they really bothered by any code of ethics at all? In your understanding, I mean, you're talking about dismissal of tenured, government officials. They go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, no, you can't do it. They leave the code before they step outside. They suspend the people and replace them right away, and all of this is going on. You think they're bothered all by any ethics, code of conduct?
No. Like I said, these are tyrannical leaders. They do not believe in law. The only difference between them and running the country by a decree is Major Boycott. He was major in Doe government. So he copied that. That's why he's doing that. Instead of giving a decree that will give you a bad name and something that people like Honorable Gabriel Williams, and they are writers, they will write.
You think they've already seen you think they have a window into the Supreme Court's decision on the bill, right? You think they already know?
Well, I know about it, and I mean that is a very simple question. From day one, everything the Supreme Court have done, okay, they have overturned. Can you imagine the Minister of Justice, when we say in a civilized country that the Supreme Court is the final arbiter of justice, right, of law, then the Justice Ministers come and they interpret the Supreme Court final. I guess it's not final. Can you imagine in the United States that the Supreme Court of the United States will give a final say so, like let's say on Roe versus Wade, right? The Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. Then the Attorney General from either our president's office,
Biden,
says, yes, this is what the Supreme Court said, and this is my opinion. And the executive said, yeah, we'll set the Supreme Court's decision aside and go by our own man because he knows better. So here you are. And when you look at the optic, Honorable William talked about optics here. When you have the Supreme Court, we're talking about an emergency, the state, national security issue, where the sitting speaker asked for a bill of information. How many days now have taken? The Supreme Court, okay, in social science and social philosophy, we got something called a decision by indecision. Okay, you say yes without saying yes. So you let Pontius Pilate. I have the cross, the nail, the hammer, and everything. It's right here. I'm not doing it, but it's here. If you want to use it, you can go and use it. That's it. We are not stopping you from going and bamboozling and looting because as we are speaking for the past 7 weeks, how do you think Waka is traveling, where they're getting money from? Because he has a nephew at the central bank. He has another nephew as Minister of Finance. He got another nephew at LRA, and they can do whatever they want. the legislative body that's supposed to have oversight. And Honorable Williams will tell you this, their primary job is oversight. There is no oversight going on, so people do whatever they want to do, and Joseph Boyka is going to milk this thing as long as he can because there's no law. Honorable Williams, you can chime me on this one.
Well, so yeah.
Let me throw this in your lap too while you're coming back at that. You know, as you're coming to respond to what Jerome just said. Look, I am hearing from all over the place. All of this maneuvering that this government is maneuvering is all about the money, the budget. They want this budget. You know, the Justice Minister coming to clarify and order that say yes, it's good to submit the budget. You know, the 7 being removed from the scene because you know they will cause chaos and derail the budget. All of this is about budget. That's what I'm hearing. What are you hearing?
Well, I think the budget is just one factor. There gotta be a very serious reason why, you know, all of these efforts are being made to circumvent the law, so to speak, to get the speaker out. There has to be a reason. Because, you know, for the best of me, I can't put my hands on anything. But Liberian politics being what it is, you know, this is why I am just saying, you know, let's cease fire on this. You know, this comes with a lot of history between Kofa and other people, the speaker and other people, you know, from the recent past or whatever. And of course, forces are realigning for 2029. But this is the wrong way to do it. We can't keep the country in a state of, you know, or dysfunction just, you know, for individuals, you know, to satisfy their own political, you know, interest at the expense of the country, the stability of the country. ECOWAS and all these people, they're calling, appealing to, you know, for peace. Our people are not listening. If there's anything in Monrovia, who going to be we go looking up to run, that the Nigerians and others. These people are telling us to quit on this thing, and our people they keep digging in it. Yeah. They are creating problems. A lot of young people in our country don't have jobs. These young people don't have jobs. If you ignite anything,
I say you're telling the Sierra Leonean we can handle our business. You know, this is no big deal. The president.
Yeah. You know, so if anything sparks in our country, you know, and whole scale looting and stuff, you know, they are provoking it. Seriously. I would urge, you know, an urgent change for a course of action in this whole thing. Seriously. It's not serving the country well. It's going to damage our international image. The information going out, you know, during this holiday season that Liberia is getting increasingly unstable. Our leaders, are they hearing it? Are they hearing it, or they are just bogged down? Their minds are just stuck in a little narrow local politics. They're going to hurt the country. They're going to hurt the Barker administration. If anybody gets killed, if there's any bloodshed in this process, through police action, whatever, it's going to be a stain on President Barker. And I will find that very unfortunate because this man is a peaceful man. For him to come in power, for his government to be stained, you know, because of chaos, I will find that unfortunate.
It's mind-boggling what is happening. I mean, yes, you're right. This president. I mean, there's some of us. I support the Ellis Cummings and the CPP, but I've always said once the president won, he became our president, and so you know we're rooting for them to succeed. He came to this office with a lot of experience, you know, behind his back. But you know, we're still watching to see how he's ever going to bring all of this experience, this knowledge to bear in government. We're not seeing that. But anyway, Dr. Pearson, I know several references have been made to 2029, and you know the president is in his 80s now. I doubt if he's going to run for, you know, re-election. So, of course, you know, there's a lot of maneuvering ongoing. I listened to Representative the other day on another network, you know, and discussing all of these internal machinations going on, how the vice president invited him in the presence of the speaker, you know, the advisor to the president, you know, all of these people in attendance. And They don't want your ability to run because if you run, Kun will not win. This is why they're afraid to come into the chamber and have election. This is why Kun was elected on a white ballot. All of this confusion. What is going on, Clarence? I mean, tell me, how do you looking down the road to 2029? I know you're Ellis Cummings, man. My bias, who I don't know yet, but
full disclosure, I support. Full disclosure, I support Mr. Alexander Cummings because I've seen the product of his professionalism. I've seen what he's done in the private sector, and I know that credibility can be replicated in his role if he serves as president. I know those are things I can count on. Unlike Mr. Boyka, there's nothing to count on. Technically speaking, he must have lived in the district for over 20 years. I don't see nothing Mr. Boyka have done anything that I can count on. Any of my district, fellow district 6 citizens on this live right now who following us that I'm thinking can come and list any one of his achievements in here. They follow, let him list one achievement here, and I will take back my statement. I think I got 5 online right now following us. Now let me say this, right? Vice President Jeremiah Kun has interest in 2029. There's no doubt about that, right? Vice President Kun, I don't want to go too deep in that, but you know he serves as the Ways and Means Committee Chair in the House of Representatives.
Right.
And we all know what happens in there, right? So Kun comes to power and he says he wants to audit the House of Representatives. Tell me what happens with Jeremiah Kun chances in 2029 if those messed up reports come up concerning what happened under his watch as chair for Ways and Means. That's one deal right there. And there are others I can name, but Kun is a key factor. Let's come back to another issue. General Kofa is gaining momentum in Liberia as being a reformer, right, in the House of Representatives. Someone who is shaking and moving things in the House of Representatives. He's catching on misappropriation of 22 million for roads. He's catching on 14 million of budget spending. He's catching on 285 yellow machine that is going to be procured purposely. All of these things are being caught in the drag net of Natu Kofa. Is it the best name for that kind of role? Zero. That's not the kind of legislature people want. People want a legislature, a House of Representatives that will just stamp everything and go back, take the cut, and everybody get a cut. Like, bro, we'll conjugate it like this. You eat, I eat. Everybody eat. Everybody quiet. Right? And to close on that, I will say this, to be very frank, watch the next few days. The yellow machine going to pass. The yellow machine will pass. Everything that we thought we held on to that did not adhere to the rule of law are going to pass. Everything corrupt going to pass in the House of Representatives as we have it right now. And last but not the least, LSCC will say nothing about it, as LSCC have not said anything about the investigation of bribery affecting the current House of Representatives case of the removal of Fanatic Kofa. Why? Because they are all bought by the Joseph Boyka regime, who have threatened his position in his first few days in office, and they are all now walking on eggshell. That if they offend this president, this dictatorial president, this president will become an autocrat, they could lose their job. Liberia is being paralyzed. There's going to be no democracy. We are going to a complete monarchy, and the tendencies are clear.
Thank you, Clarence. Thank you very much. Gabe, I'm coming to you, but let me just say this. Let me say something about it, 1%, because every time we come on here, everybody wants to call the CPV the 1%ers. Let me tell Mr. Waller and others, right? We're not the only 1%ers who emerged out of this election. The elections that the president won, he won Judge Weir by 20,500 votes out of 16,000 plus votes, 1.6 million. If you take the difference, the percentage he won by is about 1.25%. So this president himself, he's a 1%. I don't know if they ever figured that out. So I want you to go back tonight, Dr. Waller, go and crunch the numbers and come back on next Sunday. Next time we'll come back here and tell me if you're not also a 1%. This president won here in a runoff by 1%. He is a 1% himself. So let's talk about 1%.
Mr. Nambe.
Yes.
Why will you leave
No, I am sick and
No,
tired of
but
hearing
listen,
the 1%, 1%.
why would they leave their president that had 90%, Joe Weir that had 25%, and worry about the 1%? That says something about these people.
I'm telling you.
You're not worried about it, 90%, you worry about you that the 1% that just urge them. For some reason, the 1% just stick somewhere that pins them. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
You know,
Anyway, Gabe,
if you are playing soccer, right, and you beat a person 10-1, and then you go protest it, why you protesting? Because they gave him 1 goal. How is that possible? What's about the 10 that you got? You're not talking about the 10 goals you got, but the 1 that this man got, that the one you worry about. Everywhere they go, the 1%.
Everywhere we go, 1%. And you know, I blame Appleton. Appleton brought into this thing. But anyway, that's another story for another day.
Now you're Kepamos born now. So
you are the yellow program. You know, I don't know what now my friend knows. So no matter coming, you had a melody, right? I don't know where your problem.
Appleton were planted, man.
I know, right? But anyway,
Appleton is ambassador to Japan,
and you know,
he got rid of our homeboy.
He's going after my boy Brahma Nelson again. Everywhere we go, this boy is following us all over the place. Anyway, look, Wallo, we're having a good laugh at your expense, brother. I hope you're having a good laugh. Yeah. Put aside your journalist hat and put aside your diplomat. Put on your politician hat a little bit. Look down the road to 2029. How do you see the landscape? You got Jeremiah Kuhn on this side. You got Josh Weir on this side. You know, you got Mo Ali on this side. You know, you got Stanton Witherspoon on this side. You know, you got Ellis coming on. I don't know. How do you look down the barrel of this gun towards 2029, Gabe?
Well,
who are some of the contenders and pretenders as we go towards 2029? As the sports people will say.
Well, you know, what we see now, you know, are the realignments of the various forces. So, you know, and in the next couple of years, that's when, you know, who the real contenders are going to be, they're going to emerge. Of course, the vice president, Mr. Cummings, still in the wing. He's a man with a huge potential. Unfortunately, you know, I can see that the man is not a career politician.
No.
I mean, you know, you know, make got potential and everything. But this is the time, you know, he's supposed to be out there. If I were him, these are the kinds of things I'll be waiting in every now and then. Don't go to sleep until the next few years, couple of years, the election, then you start running. But these kinds of things you wait in, you know, look, a whole rebranding that keeps you in public consciousness is very essential. Don't count out Mr. Weir. You guys are just talking about the numbers.
Yeah.
And how the current president won. Weir is still a major contender. I mean, it was a surprise to me that he lost, you know, his re-election.
Yeah. Especially after he won the first round.
Yes. So, you know, if he plays his cards well between Mr. Cummings, former President Weir, and the current vice president, those are the three people that I see right now. Other people may come. Who knows? There may be others who might take the lead.
You think Thomas Fowler could be a factor?
I haven't seen him as a contender, but who knows? Like I said, this is the beginning of the realignments that are taking place of various forces. So in the next couple of years, that's going to be. But yet, also
we're hearing that since the current president may not be running, he may be the one position, maybe positioning him for the local vote. Thomas Fowler.
Who's that?
Thomas Fowler. I said, since the current president may not be running, they might be grooming him to harvest the local vote.
Mr. Nangwe.
Yeah, that might be a factor, you know, but I don't see him as a major factor as yet.
Let's give him a name coming, Clarence.
Mr. Nangwe.
To be very frank with you.
Hang on, Jerome. Hang on, Gabe. Gabe, you done?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Yes, I'm
Jerome, hang on, Jerome. Clarence will come in quickly, then you come in.
Yeah, go ahead, Clarence.
Be quick. Don't count President Bouakai out yet. You know you're always 79, right? President Bouakai is always every birthday is 79, so don't count him out for 2029. Probably still might be 79.
Let me tell you a quick joke. I'm not going to call name Clarence, but I have a friend who has a friend, and the younger sister to this friend got her one money and came to the other friend and said, "Look, you know, for the past several years you've been 50, so I'm a few months away from 50. You got to move up because I'm going to."
We need a space. This space can't hold both of us. You gotta move up a little bit.
52. You gotta move up a little bit. Anyway, Jerome, go ahead. Make sure.
The thing is, we have had honest and credible people on this platform that have told us that Joseph Boakai have taken a page or a chapter out of Ellen's book, and the gentleman, the leader of the Gonglo's party, how they call them? Are they Liberian People's Party?
Yeah, LPP.
Yeah, Nyakwe Zeze was here, and he intimated that in their chat room, because it's an alliance, they already have the Joseph Boakai re-election committee. What they are saying is what would say the Republican Party will say you are a rhino. Joseph Boakai is going to be Pino. Pino is president in name only. Like my senator from Grand Bassa County said, we don't need him to do anything. We just need his name, and we will do the campaigning and we'll run the country. Isn't that what's happening? So what made you think in 2029? In fact, someone was joking, said the guy said, even if Joseph Boakai died 2028, we will not announce his death until after the election because we don't need to even show his face. Yeah, he said we're keeping somewhere. We don't show his face because this going election. You didn't see him anywhere. He didn't go in the southeast. He didn't go anywhere. They just had him.
Absence will be like a president. Come on, man.
That's right. So
and listen, your man wants to you be back now, Bob. I hope you rest.
Yeah, so, this man here, this guy, for being, he living on our show rent free. We should charge him rent for being here.
Tell me about it.
So here we are. These folks are saying, you guys are talking about Joseph Boakai not running, and the people in the chat room, in their war room, is saying these guys love this. They are running the show. It's just Boakai is president in name, or they call him Pino, president in name only. So he's just there. The man said it. He said, I went to IB Bank and I took a loan for just to leave everything for my children. That's all I want. Now he got a whole enchilada. That's all he wanted. He doesn't care about the future. He's in his future. So he said the pay from Ellie's book is, Ellie told the market women, I'm old already. You make me president. I will straighten out one term and I'm going to give it to the young folks. Then when time came, she went back to them and said, I've started many projects. Just let me finish my project so I can go. Same thing. Can you imagine a vice president, Mr. Honorable Williams is here, Dr. PSC is here, you are here. If you went somewhere and you went to your boss and say, I'm looking for a job. This job I love. I want you to give me a letter of recommendation, character recommendation, letter of character. And your boss man tells you, no, I cannot recommend you. What do you think your employer or potential employer will say? If your immediate past boss cannot vouch for you, why should I hire you? And this is what happened. Now people are saying, in retrospect, that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was a wise woman, very brilliant woman. She knew exactly what she was doing when she said, this man cannot succeed me. Here now, we Liberians, we have the egg on our faces. Ellen is flying we talk about her when she said, this man, I would not recommend him for a job. And yet and still, whatever happy. And look at Nimba. When Mr. Kumakwa was here, Kumakwa said, they came to kill me. He said, Prince Johnson and his life came to kill me because they wanted Waka to win at all costs. So here we are. The happiest man in Liberia is Joseph Waka because he doesn't have anything to pay back to Prince Johnson. Prince Johnson is not on his tail anymore. They don't have anything to fear in Prince Johnson. So, hey, it's a win-win for President Waka. He doesn't have the Supreme Court. He doesn't have Prince Johnson to hold his feet to the fire. So he's running free.
Thank you, Jerome. There's a lot of feedback coming in when we're not speaking less.
Yeah, that's honorable Williams.
Yes, gentlemen.
But I will mute it when he read it. Then I will open it back up.
Thank you. Any of you can speak on this. We're getting ready to wind down. I haven't read anything on this yet, so I don't have much information. I don't know if any of you have come across. I understand the government, the last time the Millennium Challenge result was out, I think we have passed, I believe, by 11 out of the 20. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were concerns in areas like, the rule of law, governance and stuff like that. Now, as we're getting ready to come on air, there are reports that we may have actually gotten some money. I don't know if that's been substantiated. Have any of you read anything on this? Is it true? It's a good thing if it happens for this government. I think this will be one. It will be a shot, to boost their morale, and also it will be welcome money that they will have available to them to do some things. I saw some photos of the road between Freeport and I think Douala. Looks like they started reconditioning that road and stuff like that. So, if you've heard anything on this, you want to talk about it briefly before we bring on? I don't think there are callers coming in today, Jerome. Are there?
Well, now that I know we have the numbers.
Okay.
They can call you on your line. They can call me personally, and you just connect.
Got you. Got you. Okay.
Yes, I have not heard. I did see the road, but
Okay.
That is contrary to what the engineers recommended. The road does not need to be patched. Basically, it needs to be rebuilt with drainages and everything that is. When we talk about it, the corresponding effect to modern engineering.
Right.
Now you are just putting asphalt over the pothole and everything else. When the rainy season comes, we go back to square one. It needs to be rebuilt, and this is where we are. Yes, it is a good thing. At least the folks go from now to the next rainy season. It will be a little passable, so it's a relief for our folks. But the road needs to be rebuilt.
Gabe, anything on the Millennium Challenge? You heard anything, or you haven't picked up anything across the wires?
Yeah, the specific indicators, I may not be able to speak to them yet because I'm trying to understand exactly. But overall, the MCC something is a good development indicator.
Yeah.
First, there's a history behind the whole MCC and the compact. You have what they call the constraint analysis. The constraint analysis was a research that was put together after the war to determine the areas in which the country was being held back in terms of national developments. Here, Jerome Gamer talk about the roads, electricity, and something else. Those are the three or five major constraints, under the constraint analysis that are critical, for the redevelopment of Liberia. The roads, electricity, and a couple of other things, So in the absence of those things, it's difficult for you to actually have sustainable development. Right. You can't have sustainable development without, good road network. You cannot have sustainable development in the absence of electricity, in a modern society. So these are things, that we struggle with. And all of the indicators on the MCC compact, and I'm familiar with it during my days in DC because we're involved in a lot of these things, putting Liberia back on course. All of the indicators of which you hear resources are expended, they are, for example, the rule of law and all of these things, they are various indicators. And for those indicators where you make progress, resources are provided to enhance your ability. Those areas in which you are still struggling, they will encourage you to go back to them. So, I understand 22, I think 11 out of 22, we are just midway. So there's a lot of other indicators. In any case, they say something is better than nothing. So that's how it is. They are based on, the programs that have been laid out for national development, and for every season, what areas were tackled and what programs are made.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Pearson. I mean, it'll be a good thing.
Yeah, real quick on the Millennium Challenge, Liberia scored 49 on the rule of law.
Okay.
So previously we have passed 14 out of 22.
Right.
So we regressed. We are going backward.
Correct.
We went down to 11.
Okay.
So it is not when you have a business or a nation and your indicator is that you think you're looking forward but you're reversing,
right,
then something is wrong. When I was vice president for the Chamber of Commerce here in St. Lucie County, whenever our job was to go to other states and steal corporations. When they have the big show, you go out there and you want to lower them to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 5 questions, since I was always doing the presentation, that I had to answer. The first thing on that list is utilities. If you want IBM to move to St. Lucie County, let's look at your utilities. And utility number 1 on that list, like Honorable Williams said, is electricity. The second would be water and sewage. The third would be road. And then the fourth is internet connectivity. And 5, the good schools. Because if we are moving our employee from New Jersey to Florida, do you have schools that are compatible that we can bring our children here to be productive? If you cannot answer any of those questions, all 5, if you can't answer 5, they're going somewhere else. So look at mental skill, right? Mental skill coming to Liberia, they were asked to build a fiefdom. That means the country does not have utilities, you don't have water, you don't have school, you don't have electricity, you have nothing. So you are telling them to come and build a country within a country. They are building their own roads, their own electricity, their own water, their own sewage, their own police, their own everything. So if they do all of that in your country, why should they pay your people anything more than what they pay them?
I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you, especially the schools, maybe, because most of these young people who run these corporations, they're still young, they have young kids, they always want to know that their kids will have the best of education. I don't know, Dr. Pearson, you heard anything on the Millennium Challenge? I mean, it will be a good thing, but it's hard to understand how that is going to happen. Like Jerome said, I think President Weah scored 14. I don't think we got any money for that. And then we scored 11 around this time. And some of the critical points, rule of law, child health, education, we didn't do well on these sectors. But I was hearing that we may have won some money coming into Liberia.
So I would just list the areas that we fill in, right? So we fill in regulatory quality, we fill in government effectiveness, we fill in educational expenditures, we fill in natural resource protection, we fill in girls pre-education completion rate, we fill in child health. So that is the current report. The 2023 report, we fill in fiscal policy, we fill in regulatory quality, we fill in government effectiveness, we fill in primary education expenditure, we fill in natural resource protection, we fill in immunization rates, we fill in girls pre-education completion rate, and we fill in child health. So technically, BRCA did not have sufficient data to go off on, so they literally just like reflected on what we did 2023 to compensate for 2024.
Thank you very much, sir. Gentlemen, we are about 9 minutes away to our closing. We don't have any callers. So let's use the time to I'm reading the comments anyway. Let's use the time to close. Thank you very much tonight. Very, very riveting discussion. As always, you bring the best to the table. Jerome, since you came late, we'll have you go first. Anything you didn't touch on, you can add that into your closing.
No, thank you very much. It's an honor to actually be on this show with personalities that we have heard about that have served our country. Honorable William, thank you very much for your service to our country, what you have done, what you continue to do. Dr. Pearson, continue to speak out, write extensively.
The neo progressive.
Yeah, the neo progressive. Honorable Namwe here, everybody knows we have been in this thing forever, and he's not giving up. And for your wife stepping forward and wanting to make a difference is honorable. So you know, people are doing the best we can. We want to make sure that we don't be branded as enemy of the state because we say something that the government should actually capitalize on. And the reason that when I go to Liberia, the people don't want, they say, oh, the educated people, I can't buy again, you know, that's the reputation that we have in Liberia. You go, these guys have made us the boogeymen of Liberia. You go to Liberia, you're from the diaspora, they say, oh, then I come back with a big boy again. And that they have that is etched in the minds of the people that we are the boogeymen. So when you go out there, the folks in the 80s used to giggle, garbage in, garbage out. You look at men like Cone, you go on his LinkedIn page, he said he has a PhD. He said he has a PhD, a master's from Cottington in accounting and this and that, and PhD from Michigan, University of Michigan. Then I look under the small line, say online. So I don't even know how he did that. But
Hey.
These are the,
you old man. These are the online people. Is a real deal. All right, go ahead.
Okay, that's fine. But if you never sat in a class to interact, I'm not sure if somebody else is writing your paper, somebody else is doing your work. You sit in Liberia and get a degree from Michigan State or University of Michigan, but he doesn't call himself doctor. He doesn't any of those things. I had to go do a background check to find out that this man got all these degrees online and everywhere else. But anyhow, so here we are. In American politics, they said never miss an opportunity, okay, to capitalize on your opposition's mistake. And this is what what happened in Liberia today. It was primarily set up to make Joseph Boakai look bad. Now tell me why Carrasco was arrested. He wasn't, they say he was playing loud music. He didn't do anything. He was sitting there. They just came and picked him up. What would be the charges? So the objectives of some of these protests is to project an image to make you look bad. Somebody kind of try to put their finger on your eye, instead of moving away, you swab them in the face, and that you the one to see. They don't see him trying to poke you, they see you slapping him. And this is why Joseph Boakai, when I look at people like Kofi Woods, your comrade, Mr. Namwe, Kofi Woods to be security advisor to the president. This is his domain, you security advisor, national security issue. And you allow this to happen on all the front pages, even per bull. The critics of every government. She said, I came 7 o'clock in the morning to be an eyewitness to see what's happening. He said, but this government is terrible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Gabe, you want to come in with your closing? And I must say about your leg, man. You know, I always wanted to say, you know, I wish you the best. I hope you know, somehow you gain recovery.
Yeah, it's not a major problem, but you know, like little recurrent kind of situation.
Especially when you start getting old and all those things.
Yeah, you know, especially in winter time. And you can really see This is the scar from the door time when help lose the last demonstration when they chased us. I was Secretary General of the Press Union. That how I ended up at the American Embassy. I stayed over a year hiding in our embassy until Joe died, until Echomo King. That's how I survived. And the student leaders who were captured, they killed them. I was a secretary to that. But this is why, I'm seriously opposed to anything to disrupt the peace. I always say, we must agree to disagree without being violently disagreeable. Quoting Martin Luther King. Other people and myself don't always have to agree on anything. We don't always have to, support the same government, because we're different. We have different philosophies. But it doesn't mean that they're less Liberian than I am, or I am more, patriotic than they are. And that's why, I took that simple, attitude to the government that, I give you an example of what I did, during Madame's time. My policy was there is no us against them. As long as I'm at this ministry, what I have to do to advance the interests of the country, the interests of the government, that's what I would do. Not necessarily bending to a little narrow political interest or partisan interest. So when we do that, we look at the bigger interest of the country. So I hope that the government will course correct before our international partners. They start issuing warnings and stuff. When they start doing it, you have to dovetail. So yes, and then before you change course, you don't have to do that. The country is drifting. We don't want a situation where you have complete, complete hooliganism. People will go and start looting. People are desperate, and you need an opportunity. They need an opportunity to do something like that. If you pull the police out, I won't blame them for shooting because they came there to quell a riot. They didn't come there to carry a marching band. The mandates are different. So this is why we should not create any situation that will cause violence, that will cause the loss of life. If you shoot somebody's child, their life is gone forever. A pa or a mom or a sister, it is totally unnecessary to do these things to take somebody's life. So let's get back on course. Let the spirit of Christmas return to Liberia. That's my prayer and my hope for our country and our people. Thank you.
Thank you, kid. This Molo guy, he's a hell guy. He's calling out, man, low energy. And Donald Trump and Jeb Bush. Anyway, yeah.
Mr. Nangbe, thank you for having me tonight. I mean, Solo is round that. Anyone who loves their country and love Liberia will be starting on the reflect on what happened today in Liberia. In fact, since Sunday, I've been down with the development in Liberia. And if you look at my post on Sunday, you see the same thing there. But, I close by saying, I want to say this to those in power now. Power is deceiving, and it is temporary.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons why in Africa our leaders don't want to leave power when they get there is because they have abused it so much, they feel threatened that when they leave it, then they will have to answer for what they did in the past. And one of the things that we can do to reverse that negative trend in our political culture is to reduce as much as possible the abuse of power and the authority that we get when we are entrusted by the voters to run. And I want to thank Mr. Williams for his service to country. And I pray that we can have a lot of people in Liberia who will sit around the president. And even though I don't believe in his confidence to lead the country, but with people like Gabriel around President Boyka, will steer him in the right direction. They will not tell him, Mr. President can't go to the Capitol building because they know in the back of their head, when the president go to the Capitol building, they will use that as an excuse to muzzle and brutalize the innocent civilians because they were excusing on the fact that the president was going to the Capitol, so the president needed to be protected. We need to stop these things. Liberia is the only country we have, and I want to say sorry to those who were hurt and brutalized today. Those who spending the night in prison without any recourse to the laws for misdemeanor, they are in prison tonight and they're sleeping under deplorable conditions. When we give other people a free wall from a case that they were criminally indicted and found guilty for murder, and they walk free. Innocent civilians are going to jail tonight. It's very sad. And I want to close on that note. Thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pearson. Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. Thank you very much, Mr. Goodman. Again, like Gabe said, our hearts are heavy tonight. Our hearts go out to our compatriots. Hope this government, will really, really do best to de-escalate this situation. Like they always say, power is not static. You said that just now, Dr. Pearson. Power is dynamic. Today, you will be in a seat. Tomorrow, someone else is going to be there. But Liberia is the only common denominator. Thank you all very much. I look forward to doing this again with you. Have a good night. And thanks to our audience.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Liberia.